Hello there, is that Drew Gilchrist?
Hello, yeah, speaking.
Oh, pleasure to meet you again. I'm Dave Howells, consultant psychiatrist here at Mamedica. How are you doing today?
Good as always.
Excellent, I'm very pleased to hear that. So, what we're going to do is have a chat about how you've been getting along. You've been with Mamedica now for 9 months, so this is your 9-month review appointment. We need to work out whether or not the medications have been suitable for you, whether or not you've got any side effects or any new issues that might mean we need to change the prescription, and just find out a little bit about how your life has been going. So, if I can pass it over to you, just let me know, what's going on with you.
So for me, everything's been going really well. I would say maybe in the last couple of months, I've been trying obviously more and more different medical strains, and I find that some work, some don't. The ones that do work really well, but I still haven't quite managed to find something that works during the day.
Okay, so it's the daytime is particularly difficult for you. There are fewer daytime strains. I think most of them are quite heavy. Let's have a think about what symptoms these are addressing. So what are the benefits for you? You mentioned that motivation in the day wasn't so good, but what is it helping with?
So helping with anxiety, that's the main thing. For the most part, anxiety is my main symptom that I get from my condition. I have a brain condition which causes imbalance of cortisol. So I have the same amount of adrenaline all of the time as somebody would have if they just had somebody come up to them with a knife on the street.
Okay, and when we first met, the other thing you mentioned was something you wanted to address was your sleep. So how are you on getting off to sleep? Are you disturbed through the night? How's that going?
My sleep is a lot better now. So before, I would rarely have nights where I sleep the whole night. And I still do kind of have rare nights where I do sleep the whole night, but for the most part, I would say on average, it's probably I wake up maybe once or twice in the night. Compared to 4 or 5 times when we met is a world of difference.
No, absolutely. And I think that just improves your mood overall anyway, just getting a good night's sleep and getting refreshed. Okay, and just to make sure you're not doing anything that might harm yourself or others, have you been doing anything that might be considered dangerous? Have you been driving around whilst impaired, using power tools, heavy machinery, anything like that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, obviously there are days where I'll drive having consumed the medicine that day, but never when I feel impaired or anything.
Yeah, I think that's it. The important thing is to keep you and others safe whilst you're using this medication, so it's incredibly important that's the case. We always advise people to use the minimum effective dose for their symptoms and to try and reduce it wherever possible. And do you do anything to try and reduce your tolerance? Things like tolerance breaks, anything like that?
I find that because of the condition, it would be a bit too hard for me to have a tolerance break in that sense, but I also find that it ends up being quite regulated. If I had the mindset of, well, I go through a gram every day and I have this amount of bags every day, I'd probably end up needing a tolerance break. But because I have days where I really don't consume at all, and then I have days where obviously I consume a lot, the tolerance kind of ends up regulating itself out to be a flat line the whole time.
Have you found that your tolerance has gone up at all over the last 9 months?
No, if anything, I would say it's gone down because I vaporize a lot more than I was before. And because vaporizing is such a small amount, and I'm honestly not sure how the science works behind it, but I feel like I get much more effects from the small amount I use from the vaporization. But in turn, I find that lowers my tolerance like crazy.
So I think it's really important to try and keep an eye on the amounts you're using. I don't know whether, from the illicit market, you use things like concentrates or rosin or anything like that, things that can really throw your use up.
I don't really too much, to be honest. I might do sometimes if I feel like it's necessary. But again, it's not something that I would do anywhere near daily or weekly or even really monthly.
We have seen people whose tolerance has really gone up higher and higher, and it then starts to get into the arena of cannabis misuse disorder. And that's a real balance to try and find a balance between what's a medical prescription and what's kind of a misuse, because from a purely sort of THC quantity perspective, it can look very similar. So, perhaps someone who's using an awful lot of cannabis, might not be a substance misuse candidate and need to go to treatment, whereas some people may be, simply needing very, very high levels of THC to manage their symptoms. So, I mean, have you considered that perhaps the amounts you're using might put you at danger of a cannabis use disorder?
I wouldn't say so for myself, really. My symptoms require quite a lot of cannabis for it. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to deal with in my normal day-to-day, but if anything, I would find that, yeah, since especially being with Mamedica, I've lowered my intake like crazy. So, and it still helps my symptoms pretty much exactly the same as it was before. So for me, I would say that it's the pretty perfect balance of just about being enough for me. And like I said, I recognize when I end up consuming too much, or like say with the oils, when I was experimenting with the oils for the first time a couple weeks ago, you know, if I accidentally took a dose like too soon and then suddenly I felt too stoned, like it wasn't something it's not something that I enjoy. Like I only want to make sure that I'm able to live my life at a baseline, and that's kind of it.
We need to make sure we're doing this in a very safe, secure manner, and making sure you understand that, you know, even though it is cannabis and it is a relatively safe medication, there are significant risks that we have to watch out for, and that's why it's important to continue to monitor your care and supervise how you use these medications and whatever symptoms come up. So if you do have any new symptoms, I'd want you to tell us. If you do have any new medications from your GP or anywhere else, then please do let us know as well. No major side effects, you've not developed any symptoms of paranoia or hallucinations, or there's nothing which you think would prevent you from going forward with a prescription?
No, nothing at all.
Okay, fabulous. It is very much a case of working with you to find the right medication for you. And sometimes that's not always cannabis-based medicines. That's not always these unlicensed medicines. And you know, have you thought that perhaps if you still have outstanding symptoms, that you might need to go back via you know, conventional medicines, you know, have a second opinion and maybe try out some of those conventional medicines whereby perhaps there are things that people haven't thought of before?
I think for me personally, I've tried out pretty much every conventional medicine that was available for my condition. I probably went through maybe 6 or 7 different medications over 2 years when I first had the condition come up. And nowadays, I feel like I'm almost too scared to try traditional medicine, because some of the ones that I was prescribed by certain doctors, they literally admitted to prescribing me the wrong medication, and it like really messed me up at certain points. And I think I definitely would like to get more opinions from different doctors for sure, but I think the only other traditional treatment that I would still consider is like some sort of therapy.
Let's have a think about other things you might be doing to try and help your condition, which we might need to address. So any alcohol, tobacco or substances?
Nothing. I haven't drank alcohol for 10 years and I quit cigarettes exactly a year ago. So.
Okay, that's it.
And before then, the last time I smoked, like I used to consume my cannabis with tobacco much, like a long time ago. And the last time I did that was like 6 years ago, so.
Okay, and any other illicit substances?
No, nothing,
no.
Never.
Again, you know, the medication is unlicensed, therefore we don't know how it might interact with whatever substances might be out there. There might be combined sedative effects, and that's the same with alcohol, opiates, antihistamines, anything like that. So we do need to be careful.
Yeah.
So through this, have you found that you're neglecting any responsibilities? Have you found that actually it's improved your life?
I find that it's just greatly improved my life. I do find that there's certain days with certain strains where it definitely doesn't work as well as it does with others, and I have to just prioritize being healthy over like actually doing stuff. Like that just happens sometimes. Like if I have to prioritize like, okay, well, the only bit of medical cannabis I have right now, it's gonna help me, but I might not feel totally up for doing all of the work that I know I need to do. Well, that's still a better option than not taking any medication and then still not being able to do any work and just being anxious and feeling horrible and stuff. So I find that even with the occasional downside, that's still a much better position than I was in beforehand. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Are you needing a prescription at the moment?
I just got a recent prescription, so currently I'm okay. I probably need another one in about 3 weeks, I would say.
Okay, and you said that you were using up to about 2 grams a day, so that would put you in the ballpark of having an authorized limit of 60 grams per month. And you've also had some oil, so I know that, you know, having up to 1 ml oil per day, you would have, say, an authorization of 30 mils of oil. What we need to do is work out when we would next want to follow you up. I think you do have quite a complex case, and I think that the medications you're using alongside the cannabis from the illicit market places you in a somewhat vulnerable position if you were to get side effects from the illicit market cannabis or through contamination thereof, we wouldn't necessarily know whether that was from our medication or from other cannabis you've been sourcing elsewhere. So it's really important that we try and steer you onto the medicinal cannabis market as far as possible. So what I'd want to do is we can continue with things the way they are. I would want to see you within 6 months, ideally. Sometimes at Mamedica, for very stable people with less complex conditions, we can have a shared care process whereby pharmacists and other doctors that are not on the specialist register can step forward and take over some of that prescribing. But I would certainly be informed if there were any reason why you might need to have a further review with myself, okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Do you have any questions or comments at this point?
No, I think that's covered pretty much everything.
Marvellous. Well, it's been a pleasure seeing you again, Drew, and I will look forward to seeing how you get on over the next 6 months. If there is anything you feel we could be doing for you additionally, let us know. And next time you need a prescription, again, just do it via the usual route, via the Mamedica website, and we will get that processed for you. But otherwise, thank you for sticking with Mamedica.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Drew. You take care. Bye-bye.
Perfect. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.